On a humid morning in Charleston, South Carolina, Celeste Monroe walked into the federal courthouse with her usual composure. She was a respected attorney, known for her sharp legal mind and unyielding commitment to justice. But what happened next would shock the nation and redefine her legacy. A racist deputy, emboldened by unchecked power, humiliated her in the most degrading way, shaving her head in open court. Yet, in a twist that silenced the room, Celeste rose from that humiliation to take the judge's seat, turning a moment of cruelty into a beacon of justice. This is the story of how one woman's resilience exposed corruption and rewrote the rules of power. Celeste Monroe had spent years building her reputation as a federal prosecutor. At 38, she was a force in the courtroom, her arguments precise, her presence commanding. That morning, she was scheduled to argue a high-profile case involving police misconduct. She arrived early, her briefcase in hand, ready to challenge a system that too often protected the guilty. The courthouse was busy, clerks shuffling papers, attorneys murmuring in corners. Celeste greeted a colleague with a nod, unaware that her life was about to change. As she entered courtroom 3B, Deputy Carl Dempsey stood by the door. Dempsey, a 20-year veteran of the Sheriff's Department, had a reputation for harsh treatment of defendants, particularly those of color. His eyes narrowed as Celeste approached. "ID and purpose," he barked, though Celeste's face was familiar to anyone who worked in the building. She complied, producing her bar card. Dempsey snatched it, glancing at it with a sneer. "Wait here," he said, stepping aside to speak into his radio. Celeste stood patiently, assuming it was a routine security check. But Dempsey's tone shifted when he returned. "You're not cleared," he said, his voice loud enough to draw attention. Celeste frowned. "I'm counsel of record for today's hearing. Check the docket." Dempsey's lips curled. "Don't tell me how to do my job. Step to the side." His hand rested on his baton, a subtle threat. Celeste's jaw tightened, but she moved, unwilling to escalate before her case. What followed was inexplicable. Dempsey signaled two other deputies, who approached with clippers and a smirk. "Policy for non-compliant persons," Dempsey said, his voice dripping with malice. Before Celeste could react, the deputies grabbed her arms. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the rising panic. Dempsey leaned in. "You people always think you're above the rules." The clippers buzzed to life, and in full view of the courtroom, attorneys, clerks, and spectators frozen in shock, Dempsey shaved Celeste's head, her braids falling to the floor. Gasps filled the room. Celeste's heart pounded, but she refused to break. "You're making a mistake," she said, her voice cutting through the hum of the clippers. Dempsey laughed. "We'll see." The deputies stepped back, leaving Celeste bald, her scalp stinging, her dignity under assault. She stood tall, her eyes locked on Dempsey. "You'll answer for this," she said quietly. He shrugged, tossing the clippers to a colleague. "Take it up with the judge." The courtroom doors opened, and Judge Harold Grayson entered. A veteran jurist, Grayson was known for his no-nonsense approach. He froze at the sight of Celeste, her head bare, her suit dusted with hair. "What in God's name is going on here?" he demanded. Dempsey stepped forward, his tone deferential. "She was non-compliant, Your Honor. Security protocol." Celeste's voice was calm but firm. "That's a lie. I'm Celeste Monroe, counsel for the plaintiff in today's hearing." This was an unprovoked assault. Grayson's face reddened. "Deputy, you're telling me you shaved the head of a federal prosecutor?" Dempsey faltered, his confidence cracking. I thought she was a defendant, sir." Grayson slammed his gavel. "Enough. Ms. Monroe, do you wish to proceed with your case, or do you need time?" Celeste straightened her jacket. "I'll proceed, Your Honor. Justice doesn't wait." The hearing began, but the air was thick with tension. Celeste argued her case, a lawsuit against a police department for excessive force, with precision, her voice unwavering. She presented evidence of systemic abuse, body cam footage, and witness testimony. The defense attorney, rattled by the earlier incident, stumbled through his arguments. Spectators whispered, some recording on their phones. Celeste's humiliation was already spreading online, the hashtag justice for Celeste gaining traction. As the hearing concluded, Grayson called a recess. "Ms. Monroe, my chambers," he said. Celeste followed, ignoring the stares. Inside, Grayson was blunt. "This is a disgrace. I'm suspending Dempsey pending investigation. Do you want to press charges?" Celeste considered her options. "I want accountability not just for me, but for everyone this system fails." Grayson nodded. "I'll ensure a full inquiry. But there's something else. The governor's appointing a new federal judge. Your name's been floated." Celeste was stunned. She had been considered for a judgeship before, but the process was slow, political. "Why now?" she asked. Grayson leaned back. "Because what happened today proves you're unbreakable. The bench needs that." Celeste left his chambers, her mind racing. The assault, the case, the judgeship, it was overwhelming. But she knew one thing. She wouldn't let Dempsey's act define her. The investigation into Dempsey moved swiftly. Body cam footage, obtained through a Freedom of Information request, showed him targeting Celeste without cause. Internal records revealed a pattern. Dempsey had disciplined black and brown defendants disproportionately, often with excessive force. The sheriff's department, facing public outcry, fired him. Prosecutors charged him with assault and civil rights violations. Celeste testified at his trial, her head still bare, a symbol of her defiance. "He thought he could break me," she told the jury. He was wrong. Dempsey's conviction was a victory, but Celeste's focus was elsewhere. She accepted the judicial appointment, becoming Judge Celeste Monroe at 39. Her first day on the bench was in the same courthouse, Courtroom 3B. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. As she entered, robed in black, the room fell silent. Attorneys, clerks, even deputies stood in respect. Celeste took her seat, her gaze steady. "This court is now in session," she said, her voice echoing with authority. Her first case was, fittingly, another police misconduct lawsuit. Celeste presided with fairness but firmness, her rulings rooted in evidence and equity. She questioned witnesses thoroughly, challenged weak arguments, and held attorneys to high standards. The plaintiff, a young black man beaten by officers, watched in awe. "She gets it," he whispered to his lawyer. Celeste's presence on the bench sent a message. Justice wasn't blind. It saw every injustice. Word of Celeste's rise spread. The media dubbed her the unbroken judge. Protesters outside the courthouse chanted her name, holding signs that read #MonroeMandate. The mandate, a set of reforms Celeste proposed, aimed to overhaul court security and address racial bias. It included mandatory training, independent